In the heart of Delhi, India's bustling capital, a chilling crime was about to unfold, and in its wake, an entire community was to feel the shock of a lifetime, and for a second time. Just when the city was beginning to cope with the gruesome murder of a woman named Shraddha Walker in May 2022, the flames of yet another atrocity of a similar scale were fanned. February 10, 2023. Delhi is home to over 33 million people, including 23-year-old Nikki Yadav, whom her parents proudly described as ambitious, career-driven, amicable, and above all, good-hearted. Nikki had left her village in Jajur, Haryana, to pursue higher education, a step her family took immense pride in. She would often come home to celebrate various festivals with them, and the forthcoming festival of Holi was going to be no exception. Of course, until the dreadful morning of February 10th, no one had expected a family member to be unable to make it to the festival, or any festival for that matter, ever again. Nikki had a habit of writing a diary, something that would prove to be of great value to the police officers down the line. Events leading up to the 8th of February had been jotted down by Nikki, unaware at the time of writing just how crucial evidence she was leaving behind. Around 6:30 in the morning, Nikki's younger sister received a call. She and her friend had been the last people to see Nikki. Nikki told her that she would be back soon. The young girl phoned her sister again after some time, but Nikki didn't pick up. The phone had been switched off. Although there was nothing to speculate about in particular at this point, Nikki's sister did feel the first wave of agitation washing over her. She decided to look for the number of Nikki's boyfriend, who lived in Nayaubgarh, southwest of Delhi. When she found it, she called him immediately, but he told her that he was unaware of her whereabouts. Time continued to tick by. For the young girl, there was no choice but to wait for her sister's call and arrival, as she had promised she would. In the evening of the same day, guests from various parts began to gather at a wedding hall to celebrate the auspicious event. This included members such as Virendra Singh, the father of the groom, Ashish Kumar and Naveen Kumar, cousins of the groom, the latter being a constable in the Delhi police force, and the groom's two friends, Lokesh Singh and Amar Singh. This groom was Sahil Ghelot, Nikki Yadav's boyfriend. Sahil was accompanied at the altar by his Jane doe as the bride. In a strange twist of events, this bride lived just 30 kilometers away from Nikki Yadav's house. However, neither the bride nor any among the bride's kin was aware of Sahil's affair with another lady. The name Nikki Yadav had never flown past their ears. Sahil and his Jane doe got happily married together. Nobody seemed to suspect anything unusual about Sahil's behavior. How would they? After all, Sahil seemed perfectly unbothered about getting married to a different woman. He was as content as any groom would be on his wedding. Nothing about his demeanor hinted at any foul play that may have occurred in the past, or worse, just a couple of hours ago. February 14, 2023. 4 days after Nikki Yadav's complete disappearance, a police station in Delhi received intel on the missing person's relationship with the newly wedded Sahil Ghelot. They had been tipped off by someone who didn't want their name to come to the fore. This was about to reveal a chain of shocking events, destroying two innocent families at once. Delhi police detained Sahil Ghelot on grounds of suspicion, and it didn't take long for them to elicit answers from him. Sahil confessed that he indeed knew Nikki Yadav and was in a relationship with her. He took them to a roadside restaurant owned by his family, and at last, Nikki Yadav was found, but unfortunately, the 23-year-old's body had been crammed inhumanely into a refrigerator like a piece of fly-blown meat. Sahil was arrested and taken into custody, where he confessed, over the course of 2 days, the plan he had devised along with his father, his two cousins, and two friends. But the question remains, how did all of this start in the first place? Year 2018. Nikki and Sahil were both students when they first met while preparing for pharmaceutical college entrance exams at their respective coaching centers. The two of them would take the buses on the same route, and soon enough, the two fell hard and began dating. Their courtship period lasted for over 2 years, that is, until the year 2020. In 2020, the two decided to get married, but their families were seemingly unaware. Because legal documents and witnesses are required to conduct a marriage, Nikki and Sahil managed to bring 2 elderly people as witnesses and eventually got married at an Arya Samaj temple in Greater Noida in October 2020. They also bought a rental house and began to live together. However, unbeknownst to Nikki, Sahil's family had fixed his wedding with a different woman in December 2022. Although Sahil had tried to convince his family to accept Nikki initially, he soon backed away and began to ignore her. Sahil's family was firm in its decision to have their son marry a different woman. Allegedly, his father had threatened to kill himself if he refused to marry the girl of his family's choice. This led to the birth of a sinister plot shortly after. Around this time, Nikki began to express her sadness and grief over her spouse's disapproval and negligence in her diary. She had plane tickets for the two of them so that they could go to Goa, but Sahil refused. In the last few pages, she had written about her dejection and depression because Ghelot was not able to convince his parents about their wedding. She mentioned Ghelot telling her that he did not want his parents to die over a girl, and that he did not want to go against his family. She wrote that Ghelot was not supporting her and was not standing by her side, an officer quoted. She also wrote about her secret wedding, wondering how her parents would react if they found out about it, and the fate she was now suffering as a consequence of it. February 9, 2023. Nikki eventually learned of Sahil's engagement to Jane Doe on February 9 and threatened that she would disclose his marriage to her. Sahil's family got to know about this and they told Sahil to eliminate Nikki for good. Sahil met up with his father, his 2 cousins, and his 2 friends on the evening of his engagement at the venue. The initial plan was to run Nikki over by a truck to make her murder have the semblance of a fatal accident. The other plan was to drown her in a river. However, these plans were foiled by the shortage of time. He hatched a different plan then, and it was to promise Nikki a getaway together. After his engagement, Sahil allegedly drove to Nikki's home in his cousin's car around 1 a.m. CCTV footage shows Sahil entering the apartment and leaving the same around 5 a.m. with Nikki. From there they drove to the Nizamuddin railway station in South Delhi, presumably to catch a train to Goa, but the plan failed due to the unavailability of the ticket. The same happened when they tried to purchase a ticket for a bus en route to a hill station in Himachal Pradesh. Tragically, Nikki had believed her lover and was unaware of his scheduled marriage to another woman that day. Sahil's plans had failed twice, but Nikki's fate was unfortunately sealed. It was already the morning of February 10th, and frustrated, Sahil had driven to a crematorium in Kashmir Gate in North Delhi. Sahil began to receive calls from his family, as it was his wedding day. A fight broke out between Sahil and Nikki, lasting for over 3 hours, and around 9 a.m., Sahil grabbed a charging cable and brutally strangled Nikki to death. But as fate would have it, a guard had seen the couple before in the crematorium's parking lot. After he had successfully killed Nikki, Sahil dumped Nikki's body in the car's trunk and took off to attend his wedding later that day. He halted at his family's restaurant, took Nikki's body, and dumped it in a refrigerator. He collected Nikki's phone and deleted all the messages. Very casually, he headed off home and got decked up in his wedding dress. As reported by several witnesses, Sahil was as normal as they come. He danced and laughed and cheered, as though he were the last person to ever commit such a heinous crime. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Throughout the course of this atrocity, and until the very end, Sahil was very normal about the whole thing. In fact, even upon his arrest, Sahil had no remorse about having killed a woman who loved him deeply and wished to be his bride. Sahil is in custody, along with the family members who conspired against Nikki. They have been detained for aiding and abetting the crime. As for our Jane Doe's family, everyone's completely devastated. The bride is the only child in their family, and now they are all forced to live in a different place so as to avoid the media. The mother of the bride had to pinch pennies and work hard to ensure her daughter's happy marriage. All of that has been laid to waste. Nikki Yadav's story is a harrowing tale of love, betrayal, and a meticulously planned crime that shook the foundations of two families. As Sahil and his accomplices face justice, the tragedy serves as a stark reminder of the hidden depths of human darkness. The unraveling of this sinister plot sheds light on the complexities of relationships, societal expectations, and the devastating consequences of a love betrayed.